In a vast galaxy filled with shining stars and colorful planets, the Galactic Council celebrated a grand milestone, 3,000 years of peace. The council was made up of various alien races, each unique in appearance and culture. They gathered on the planet Viridia, known for its beautiful landscapes and calm atmosphere. Giant trees with silver leaves swayed gently in the breeze, and colorful flowers bloomed everywhere. The air was filled with the sweet scent of the flowers, making everyone feel happy and hopeful. As the leaders arrived, they greeted each other warmly. Elder Taran, a wise and respected figure among the council, stood at the center. His skin shimmered with a soft blue glow, and his eyes sparkled with kindness. "Today we celebrate our unity," he said, raising his voice. "For 3 millennia, we have lived in harmony, avoiding wars and conflicts. Let us remember what we have achieved together." Applause echoed through the crowd, and many leaders smiled, proud of their history. However, not everyone felt the same way. A younger member named Senator Vex was restless. With bright red skin and sharp features, Vex was known for his fiery speeches. He believed that the council had become weak and too lenient towards humans. "We must show strength," he shouted, standing up. "Humans are reckless. They do not respect our laws." His words sparked murmurs among the other council members. Some nodded in agreement while others shook their heads, worried about what Vex suggested. Elder Taran, sensing the tension, raised his hand. "We cannot let fear dictate our actions. Humans have their own ways. They have made mistakes, but we must guide them, not punish them." Meanwhile, on the planet Earth, the humans were unaware of the council's discussions. They enjoyed their lives, focusing on their daily routines, exploring their world, and dreaming of the stars above. Some humans admired the council and wished for a chance to join them in peace. Others, however, were curious about the galaxy's mysteries and wanted to explore beyond their own planet. Back on Viridia, the council members continued their celebrations. They shared stories of their history, laughter filling the air. However, the mood shifted when news arrived that a small human colony had broken one of the council's important rules. The colony, located on a distant asteroid, had started mining the area, thinking it was uninhabited. This news reached the council during the celebration, creating an immediate uproar. Senator Vex seized the moment. "See? This is what I warned you about! Humans do not listen. They think they can do whatever they want." His voice grew louder, drowning out the sounds of laughter and joy. The council members exchanged worried glances, their previous happiness fading away. Elder Taran tried to calm the situation. "We must investigate before jumping to conclusions. Maybe the colony did not know they were breaking a rule." But Vex and his supporters were not interested in waiting. They demanded immediate action against the humans, fearing that their weakness would encourage further violations. As the council convened for an emergency meeting, tension filled the air. The once peaceful atmosphere now felt heavy with uncertainty. The leaders argued about what to do. Some wanted to give the humans a warning, while others wanted to send a message of strength. In the corner of the room, the human ambassador, Jenna, listened carefully. With her short brown hair and bright eyes, she embodied hope for a better future. "We can find a solution without resorting to violence," she said, her voice steady. "Humans are not our enemies. We can learn from this mistake and build a stronger relationship." But her words were drowned out by the anger of those who wanted war. As the meeting continued, Jenna felt a sense of dread creeping in. She knew that the council was about to make a decision that could change everything. With the future of humanity hanging in the balance, the atmosphere was charged with uncertainty. Would the Galactic Council choose to guide humans toward a better path, or would they allow fear and anger to take over? The seeds of conflict were being sown, and the peaceful times that had lasted for centuries were on the verge of breaking. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council began with a heavy atmosphere. Council members sat in a large circular room, their faces filled with worry and tension. The room was decorated with shimmering crystals that reflected the soft light, but the beauty around them did little to ease the growing anxiety. Elder Taran sat at the head of the table, looking serious as he prepared to speak. "Thank you all for gathering on such short notice," Taran began, his voice calm yet firm. "We have received troubling news about the human colony's actions. We must discuss our next steps carefully." Senator Vex, who sat at the opposite end of the table, quickly interrupted. "Carefully? We don't have time for that! If we do nothing, humans will think they can break our rules without consequences." His eyes glinted with anger as he spoke, drawing nods from his supporters. "Senator Vex, please." Elder Taran replied, raising a hand to calm him. We must approach this with wisdom. Humans are still learning how to interact with us. Let us not make a rash decision that could lead to unnecessary conflict. Vex leaned forward, his voice rising. A rash decision? Look around you! Do you want to wait until they take over our resources? Until they ignore our laws completely? We should declare war now to show them we will not be pushed around. Some council members nodded, whispering among themselves. The atmosphere grew charged with tension as the debate intensified. A tall, green-skinned leader named Drelia spoke up, her voice steady. War should be our last option. We have thrived on cooperation and understanding for thousands of years. If we choose war, we risk everything we have built. But Vex was relentless. And if we choose peace, we risk being seen as weak. I say we send a fleet to show them we are serious. We must protect our council's authority. The arguments continued, each member sharing their opinions passionately. Some wanted to negotiate with the humans, suggesting they send a message to the colony explaining the rules. Others feared that such an action would only embolden the humans. As the discussions raged on, Jenna, the human ambassador, felt a wave of desperation wash over her. She had hoped to bring a message of peace, but found herself in the middle of a heated debate that could change the fate of her people. Summoning her courage, she stood and addressed the council. Please, I urge you to consider a different path, she said, her voice firm yet pleading. Humans are not your enemies. We made a mistake, yes, but we can learn from it. A war would only lead to loss on both sides. Let us talk, let us understand each other. We can work together. Her words hung in the air, but the council members seemed torn. Some listened, their expressions softening, while others remained firm in their belief that war was the only solution. Elder Taran looked at Jenna thoughtfully, considering her plea. Jenna speaks truth, he finally said, breaking the silence. We must not forget that understanding and cooperation have brought us this far. However, we must also protect the council's authority. If we do nothing, we risk losing the respect of other races in the galaxy. With that, the council agreed to a vote. The room buzzed with nervous energy as members prepared to cast their votes on the council's response. Vex and his supporters were confident, believing that most would choose war. Meanwhile, Jenna hoped that reason would prevail. As the votes were counted, the atmosphere grew tense. Each member's expression revealed their inner thoughts. Some were anxious, while others were determined. Finally, the results were announced. By a narrow margin, we have voted to declare war on humanity, the secretary announced, a mixture of relief and sadness in their voice. Gasps filled the room as the reality of the decision sank in. Vex smiled triumphantly while Jenna's heart sank. She felt the weight of despair, knowing that the peaceful times they had all cherished were crumbling. Now is the time to prepare our fleet, Vex declared, his eyes shining with excitement. Let us show them what it means to challenge the Galactic Council. As the council members began to disperse, Jenna stood frozen, her mind racing with thoughts of her people. War was now inevitable, and she had to find a way to protect humanity from the impending storm. The peaceful times had ended, and a dark shadow loomed over the galaxy, threatening to engulf them all. On Earth, news of the Galactic Council's decision spread like wildfire. Television screens flashed with urgent headlines, and social media buzzed with panic and confusion. People everywhere watched in disbelief as they learned that the Galactic Council had declared war. Families gathered around their screens, hoping for answers, but all they found was fear. In a large conference room in a government building, world leaders met to discuss the situation. Jenna, the human ambassador, sat at the front, her heart racing. She could see the worry etched on the faces of the leaders from different countries. The atmosphere was tense, filled with uncertainty and dread. War with the Galactic Council? President Morgan said, his voice heavy with concern. This is insane! We've always sought peace with them. Why would they do this? Jenna stood up, taking a deep breath to steady herself. We need to understand that they are reacting to fear. They believe we are a threat because of the actions of a small colony. We must show them that humans are not their enemies. We need to prepare for what's coming, but we cannot lose hope. A military general interrupted, his face stern. Hope won't save us. We need to prepare our defenses. We should mobilize our forces immediately. We have advanced technology, but we need to train our soldiers quickly for space combat. Nods of agreement swept through the room. Jenna felt a pang of anxiety as the leaders discussed military strategies. While she understood the need for preparation, She feared that the more they talked about war, the further they moved away from peace. "Let's not forget the importance of communication," Jenna urged. "We can still reach out to the council. If we can show them our intentions, maybe we can prevent this war." President Morgan looked at her, conflicted. "We will prepare our defenses, but I want you to send a message to the council. Let them know we seek peace. We will do everything we can to avoid a conflict." With a plan in place, the leaders dispersed to their respective tasks. Jenna returned to her office, her mind racing with thoughts. She quickly began drafting a message to the council, expressing humanity's desire for peace. She poured her heart into the words, hoping they would reach the council in time. As the sun set over Earth, the military began its preparations. Soldiers trained hard, practicing in makeshift spacesuits and learning how to operate advanced spacecraft. In labs across the globe, scientists worked tirelessly, enhancing their technology to prepare for the worst. Among them was a young engineer named Alex. He was passionate about technology and believed in humanity's potential. He worked late into the night, modifying spacecraft to improve their speed and firepower. "We can't let fear win," he said to his colleagues, his eyes bright with determination. "We have to show them what we're made of." News of the war declaration also reached the public, sparking a mix of fear and resolve. Protests erupted in some cities, with people demanding peace and understanding instead of war. "We must unite!" they chanted. "Humans are stronger together." Their voices echoed through the streets, calling for compassion rather than conflict. Meanwhile, Jenna's message was sent to the Galactic Council, carried by a spacecraft equipped with advanced communication technology. She watched as the ship took off, praying that her words would resonate with the council members. "Please let them understand," she whispered to herself. As days passed, the tension on Earth grew. People held their breath, waiting for a response from the council. In every home, schools, and workplaces, discussions about the upcoming war filled the air. Families made plans for safety, while children tried to carry on with their lives, though they could feel the weight of uncertainty. Then, just as hope began to wane, a reply from the council arrived. Jenna rushed to the communications center, her heart racing with anticipation. She opened the message and her heart sank. The council refused to back down, viewing the preparations on Earth as a sign of aggression. They were ready for war. Jenna felt a wave of despair wash over her. The path to peace seemed to be closing. She realized that the time for action was now. If they were going to avoid war, they needed to act quickly and decisively. As the reality of the situation sank in, Jenna made a silent vow. She would do everything in her power to save her people and find a way to peace, even if it seemed impossible. The battle for humanity's future had just begun. The day had finally come. Earth's forces were prepared, but the atmosphere was heavy with tension and anxiety. Soldiers, engineers, and scientists all worked tirelessly to prepare their ships for the first battle against the Galactic Council. Jenna stood in the command center, her heart pounding as she watched the screens filled with images of the fleet. Each ship was armed and ready, but a feeling of dread settled in her stomach. "General, what's the latest?" Jenna asked, turning to the stern-looking military leader beside her. "The fleet is in position," the general replied, his voice steady. "We've detected a small Galactic Council force heading toward us. They will arrive in less than an hour. We need to be ready for anything." Jenna took a deep breath. "This is our chance to show them we mean no harm. We have to avoid unnecessary violence." The general nodded but did not seem convinced. "I understand your intentions, but if they fire on us, we will have to retaliate. We cannot appear weak." As the countdown began, Jenna felt a mix of hope and fear. She wanted to believe that communication could prevent bloodshed, but the reality of war loomed over them like a dark cloud. Soldiers suited up and climbed aboard their ships, their faces filled with determination. Jenna knew they were ready, but she also understood the gravity of what was about to happen. The air crackled with tension as the first ships of the Galactic Council appeared on the screens. They were sleek and powerful, a stark contrast to the human vessels. Jenna's heart raced as she studied their movements. Would they attack? Would they see reason? Suddenly, alarms blared, breaking the silence. "Incoming message from the Galactic Council!" a technician shouted. The room fell silent as Jenna rushed to the screen. The image of Elder Taran appeared, his expression grave. "Humanity," he began, his voice echoing through the command center. "We do not wish for war, but we will defend ourselves. If you choose to engage, we will respond with full force. Stand down and we can negotiate. Jenna's heart sank. The council was ready to fight. We need to respond, she said urgently. Can we send a message back? The general shook his head. We don't have time. They're already locking onto our ships. Before Jenna could argue, the command center shook violently as the first shots were fired. Bright beams of energy lit up the sky, illuminating the chaos that erupted around them. Jenna could see human ships returning fire, lasers cutting through the darkness. Fight back! Defend your positions! The general shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. Jenna watched in horror as ships exploded, debris scattering like stars in the night sky. The sounds of alarms and shouting filled her ears, drowning out her thoughts. She gripped the edge of the command table, trying to steady herself as the battle unfolded. Earth's forces fought bravely, but the council ships were highly advanced. They moved with precision, avoiding blasts and returning fire with deadly accuracy. Red alert! We're taking heavy damage! A technician shouted as another ship was hit. Jenna felt her heart race with fear. She knew they were outmatched. They needed to change their strategy. Prepare to transmit a message, Jenna shouted, her voice rising above the noise. We need to let them know we don't want this fight. The technician worked quickly, relaying her message to the fleet. We are not your enemy! We are here to negotiate. The transmission echoed through the chaos, but the response was cold. Another barrage of energy beams tore through the sky, and Jenna watched as a human ship was engulfed in flames. Keep fighting! The general shouted, his voice filled with determination. We can't give up now! As the battle raged on, Jenna felt a sense of helplessness. She knew that every moment wasted brought them closer to total destruction. But as she glanced at the screens showing the fierce fight, something caught her attention. Wait! Look! She shouted, pointing at a group of council ships that had broken off from the main attack. They were heading toward a vulnerable human ship, poised to strike. Jenna felt a surge of hope. Redirect our fire to protect that ship, she commanded. We can't let them take out our forces. The crew quickly relayed the order, and moments later, a barrage of energy beams shot across the sky, hitting the council ships and diverting their attention. The crew of the targeted ship managed to escape, and cheers erupted in the command center. But the battle was far from over. Jenna knew that even with this small victory, the cost was high. The sky was filled with smoke, and many ships had already been lost. As she watched the chaos unfold, she felt a wave of determination. They would not surrender. They would continue to fight for their survival and for the hope of peace. Jenna made a silent vow to herself. She would find a way to end this conflict no matter the cost. The fight was just beginning, and humanity needed a hero to lead them through the darkness. The battle raged on, but amidst the chaos, a new plan began to form in Jenna's mind. As she stood in the command center, watching the devastation unfold on the screens, she knew they couldn't keep fighting forever. They needed a way to reach the Galactic Council, to show them they were not the monsters they believed humanity to be. General, we need to rethink our strategy, Jenna said, her voice firm but calm. We can't win this fight with force alone. We must find a way to communicate with them, to make them see reason. The general paused, looking at her with weary eyes. And how do you suggest we do that, Ambassador? They are firing at us with every weapon they have. We need to send a message, Jenna replied, a spark of hope igniting in her chest. Not just any message, an invitation to talk, to negotiate. We can offer to meet on neutral ground. The general rubbed his chin thoughtfully. It's risky. They could see it as a sign of weakness. But we are losing ground. If we don't try something different, we will be wiped out. Jenna nodded, feeling a sense of urgency. We can set up a temporary ceasefire. If they accept, we can arrange a meeting. It's our best chance. The general sighed, finally relenting. Fine. Prepare the message. But we need to be ready for anything. If they reject it, we'll need to defend ourselves. As Jenna and her team worked on crafting the message, she felt a mix of excitement and fear. This was a chance to end the fighting, but would the council accept their olive branch? She took a deep breath, hoping that the words would resonate. The message was sent out, a bright signal cutting through the chaos of battle. We seek peace! We invite you to meet and discuss our differences, it declared. Jenna watched anxiously as the signal transmitted across the stars. Hours passed, and the battle continued, but something changed. The attacks from the Galactic Council slowed. Jenna and the general exchanged confused glances, sensing that something was shifting. Finally, a response came through. Elder Taran's image appeared on the screen, looking serious yet contemplative. "Humans," he began, "we have received your message. The Council has agreed to a temporary ceasefire for the sake of negotiation." Jenna felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Thank you, Elder Taran. We want to find a way to end this conflict. But know this," Taran continued, his tone stern. "If you betray our trust, we will not hesitate to resume our attack." Jenna nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "We will honor this ceasefire. Let us meet on neutral ground, away from the chaos of war." The Council agreed to the location, a small, uninhabited moon on the edge of the Council's territory. Jenna quickly began preparations for the meeting, gathering a small team of trusted advisors to accompany her. As they made their way to the moon, Jenna's mind raced with possibilities. What if the Council was open to understanding? What if they could bridge the gap between their worlds? She knew they had to show the Council that humanity was capable of peace. When they landed, Jenna stepped out of the ship, taking a moment to breathe in the unfamiliar air. The moon was quiet, its surface dotted with craters and rocks. Her team gathered around her, and together they walked toward the designated meeting area. Minutes later, a ship from the Galactic Council landed nearby, and Jenna's heart raced. This was the moment of truth. Elder Taran and his counselors stepped out, their expressions unreadable. Jenna took a deep breath and stepped forward, extending her hand in a gesture of peace. "Thank you for coming," she said, her voice steady. "We want to end this war. We believe we can find common ground." Elder Taran studied her for a moment before responding. "Humans are unpredictable. Your actions in battle have raised suspicions. Why should we trust you?" "Because we believe in peace," Jenna replied passionately. "We are not your enemies. We were fighting out of fear, just as you were. Let's put aside our differences and find a way to coexist." The counselors exchanged glances, and Jenna could feel the weight of their decision hanging in the air. Would they see the potential for peace, or would the cycle of violence continue? After a long silence, Elder Taran nodded slowly. "We will listen to what you have to say, but know this. If you fail to prove your intentions, we will not hesitate to return to battle." Jenna felt hope surge within her. This was a chance for a new beginning. "I promise we will show you that we can work together," she said, determination in her eyes. As they began their discussions, Jenna realized that this was just the beginning of a long journey toward understanding. But for the first time, she felt a glimmer of hope that perhaps they could forge a new path, one where humanity and the Galactic Council could learn to coexist rather than fight. The possibility of peace flickered like a distant star, and Jenna was determined to reach for it.